YouTube. And there we are. All right. So we're reading the book Living Untethered by Michael Singer. And this book is a kind of a sequel to his book, The Untethered Soul, and also The Surrender Experiment, which we have read in the past. And so he's talking about um, the psyche or your personal self. I'm just going to go back a little bit. um, because basically he's saying the same thing that we were just reading from Angelo DeLullo, is that we are not paying attention to our lives. Um, we're uh, not observing reality objectively. So let me see. I'm just going to go back. Do I want to? Okay, he's talking about something called samskaras, which are the ego thoughts, basically, that are rooted, that become a part of our personality, are these samskaras that come about, and it's basically the ego thought system is what he's talking about. So in these let's see, these impressions that stay stuck in the mind are called samskaras in yogic science. They are discussed in the ancient Upanishads texts. How could people know about this thousands of years before Sigmund Freud discussed his theories on suppression? See, bypassing that, spiritual bypassing that suppression. It is because they were meditators. They didn't need someone to teach them about this. They saw it going on in their own minds. If you are quietly centered in conscious awareness, you can see what is passing before you. You are the ultimate experiencer of your mind. You're just not paying attention. That makes sense. That's exactly what we were just reading from Angelo DeLullo. Instead of paying attention, you're getting so uptight about wanting butterflies and not wanting rattlesnakes that you're losing your centered awareness. When the world around you comes in and hits or activates your stored patterns, you can no longer observe reality objectively. Your consciousness gets drawn into the activated samskaras, the ego mind, and everything becomes distorted. This is the foundation of the psyche, your personal self. What is the psyche? It's something you build inside of the mind that's about you. I'm the one who doesn't like rattlesnakes. I'm the one who likes butterflies. You just built a self-concept. Someone else doesn't have that. They have a psyche built around thunderstorms, dogs that bite, and kittens that snuggle, raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens. That's what we built our psyche on.
What's on roses and whiskers on kittens, around paper packages.
Exactly. Um, so everyone has different experiences, and therefore everyone is building a different personal mind inside. No one is doing it purposely. It's reactive. It happens quite naturally because you're not ready to openly experience life. The highest state is to be comfortable learning and growing from one's life experiences. But if you're not comfortable with some experiences, when you're putting a veil or a cushion between you and those experiences, you use your will to resist them. That merely means you're not evolved enough in that area. There is no physical evolution and there is no spiritual evolution. They both involve adaptability to your environment. The former for your body and the latter for quote unquote you in there, the soul. All right. Would somebody else like to read, or does anybody have any comments that they'd like to make?
I'm happy to read, Lynn. But you read there is no physical evolution and there is no spiritual evolution. And Mickey Singer is saying that there is physical evolution and spiritual evolution. I just think that is quite humorous to me. And
Oh, I did. I said no.
yes, yes. And in reading Caroline's comments earlier, I think it's Caroline.
Yeah.
I might be mispronouncing her name. I'm sorry if I am, but I do everything on my phone, and it's complicated. And but the comments earlier about spiritual bypassing or not doing the emotional work, it is something that I fell into because the awareness of God has always been present in my, I would call it a feeling or a knowing or a being filled with warmth. And yet, the more I read the course, the more I understand those body sensations are not necessarily really real. That, the understand like placating myself by making it sound like I'm so spiritual or experiencing something so divine and but it's just how I'm wired. But it has created that emotional immaturity. It has created a certain amount of um, emotional numbness or unwillingness to do the work really involved to save the relationships in my personal life. I have I have felt so ineffective to explain or all the things that we try to do to make it like the more I get tangled up when I share too much, but the more I let go and relax and be in the truth, the less damage I'm doing. My life pattern was to try so hard to make it, essentially be the way I wanted, which was the best for everyone, right? That I couldn't allow the truth of how much love there has been, the truth of how blessed, the truth of how easy it really could have been if I just relaxed and enjoyed the ride. But and I don't, you know, but I really do believe that to understand our own psyches, it takes some work. It takes some understanding. It takes some help sometimes from others who can guide and lead us through that mire. And the samskaras, whatever they are, the egoic truths that I adopted as behavioral ways to survive that no longer are true and don't work and were never really true. And this is the minefield of life. And I'm at a certain age where I'm understanding in ways I never understood before. And now that I am, it's absolutely a comedy to look back at how difficult I made things for myself. Um,
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's really beautiful. I love that you just explained that because that is it. It's like, I didn't even realize, but these, samskaras or this ego thoughts that become so embedded in my thinking that I think it's what I'm really thinking. I think it's me. It's like I heard Earl Purdy at a conference one time. I don't know if y'all know Earl, but he's a trip and a great Course in Miracles teacher. Um, but he was saying, when I was 8 years old, well, first he said, the body itself reinvents itself. The cells regenerate, every part of your body regenerates. And, they say that every 7 years, you're completely different. All the cells in your body have been regenerated, except maybe your brain, because your brain doesn't change that much. But anyways, that's beside the point. But your body regenerates itself. So it goes, it does like a reset over the years. But when I was 8 years old, I fell and I cut my knee. I got a big scrape on my knee, and then that left a scar. But as soon as that scar was there, that scar became what my body was. And so every 8 years, instead of getting a whole new body with no scar, that scar has been reinforced. It's still there. And I was looking yesterday at my finger that I cut when I was like 5, when I was trying to open a banana. Talk about, I was home alone. I had no, my parents both worked, so I'm just all by myself there. Wanted to open a banana, got out a big knife, whappo, got this huge cut in my finger, which I went to the neighbor, and the neighbor like, oh my God, what did you do? But there it is, still there, reminding me of, all that whole story I just told you. That's a scar. That is what, samskara. I love the word samskara. That's not really what it means, but I love that the word scar is in there, because that helps me understand that this is something that was built in. It wasn't there when I was born. It's something that got built in through the uh, experiences of my life, and it's still here. This is what these samskaras are. They're thoughts that you built into your life, and it becomes a part of you, and it's still there over the years, no matter what happens, unless you go have plastic surgery and have it removed or something. Then you got a different thing going on. But the idea is that um, it becomes what I think I am. And that's why of these stories that we tell ourselves, I love the color blue. I love to cook. I don't like rattlesnakes. These are all things that we build in, that becomes a part of our experience. And as long as we think that's what we are, it will continue to be a part of our experience. Now, becoming enlightened doesn't mean that you don't have a scar on your finger anymore, because that's what was built in here. But it becomes no longer the story of your life. And you recognize that with or without the scar, you still are. So anyway, that's really all I had to say about that. So thank you. And anybody else want to share, or Deb, if you want to read?
Okay, I'm happy to keep reading. So there is physical evolution and there is spiritual evolution. I just want to point out, do you see the love in that word?
Oh my goodness, yes.
When events come in, they are meant to be experienced by you. If you have trouble experiencing them, that's the whole purpose of learning to accept. What right do you have to either cling or to resist reality? You didn't make reality, and you weren't here for the billions of years that created it. We're back to, do you like the fact that Saturn has rings? Your answer was, it's none of my business. That's the correct response for every bit of reality that took billions of years to end up in front of you. I'd like to say that a number of years ago, I decided to accept reality is God's love. The reality of God's love is what I call reality. The reality of heaven is reality. Everything else feels like a dream, is a dream to me. The real question is not whether you like things, it's why you are not okay with them. The reason is actually quite simple, because you can't digest them. It's hard to let some experiences just pass through without residual disturbance, but you need to learn how to do it. You learn to play tennis. You learn to play the piano. You've learned all kinds of things, maybe even calculus. You didn't know how to do these things to start with. They were surely uncomfortable until you learned to be comfortable with them. The soul can learn. You in there, the consciousness, can learn to experience reality. In order to do so, you must not resist. Otherwise, you're going to immediately push reality away. That's what acceptance is, non-resistance. It is having the commitment to fully allow reality to pass directly into the highest part of your being. In the end, all you are surrendering is your resistance to reality. You learn to let it come in, even if it is not comfortable as it pours into you. I'd almost like to add to the God's reality is the light. It is light. Everything that I find a grievance with is resistance to that light. Does anyone want to comment, or should I keep reading?
Yeah, this is really beautiful. And I love that. Just accepting God's reality and knowing that it's not different. We look at and we say, oh, well, that's not what God wants. God wants this and God doesn't want that. But if it's happening, it has nothing to do with whether God wants it or not. It's part of our reality, and rejecting it. If you believe the lesson that says God is in everything I see because God is in my mind, then you're going to want to see God in everything because it's there, because God is in my mind. So I love your desire or your acceptance of God's reality, because yeah, it's God in my mind that's looking everywhere and seeing nothing but love. And Jesus tells us it's either love or a call for love. So, and a call for love is love, love looking for love. So, let's stop judging the world and start seeing the love, because it's there everywhere. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Deb. And if you want to keep reading, please go ahead. Or if anybody else wants to read or anybody else has anything to say.
The same thing is true with positive experiences, like the butterfly. Somebody you like comes up to you and says, I really like you. You're very attractive to me, and I enjoy being with you. That is such a nice experience that you immediately cling to the beautiful things they said. You go back to what they're doing, but you can't. They go back to what they're doing, but you can't. You can't focus on your work because the impressions left in your mind keep distracting you. This is the opposite of be here now. You're practicing be there then. You just had a beautiful experience and you ruined it. You ruined it by holding on to it like the butterfly. You ruined it by creating a preference about one of life's experiences. Now, every time the phone rings and it's not the person who said the nice things, you get disappointed. Be aware that you did this. Somebody said something nice to you and you couldn't handle it. You couldn't just let it be a nice experience. Instead, you clung to it in your mind and it actually messed you up. Whether you use your will to resist or cling, these leftover impressions will stay in your mind. You now created an entire layer of mind that's holding your samskaras, your unfinished patterns from the past. You will come to see that these acts of clinging and resisting determine the quality of your life. These impressions distract your consciousness from the reality of the current moment. What is more, if you are constantly distracted by the samskaras in your mind, you're never going to experience who you really are. There's a vast difference between memory and a samskara. Just as your computer has memory storage capability, so does your mind. It is a natural function of the mind to store compressed versions of what was received by the senses in its long-term memory. These stored memories can be retrieved with the slightest intent. You learn a person's name, meaning it is stored in a long-term memory. When you see them again, the name normally comes up to the forefront of your mind without any effort. Though admittedly, sometimes we have to apply willful effort to bring the memory back. These are fairly normal ways memory is stored and recalled. In drastic contrast to normal memory, if you experienced an event that you have trouble handling when it renders in your mind, you use will to either consciously or subconsciously suppress it. You don't want it in your mind at all, not presently or long term. So you try to push it out of the mind completely. And when you do this, you are resisting the entire event. What came in through the senses, what you felt emotionally, and what your thoughts were about it. This resisted package of the experience cannot pass through you in the normal fashion because you won't let it. The entire energy of the event is locked inside of your mind, and it does not sit there quietly because it keeps trying to release its blocked energies. It can distort your memories of the past as well as disturb your experience of the present. Blocked energies in the mind are like a computer virus that distorts both the conscious and the subconscious minds. In later chapters, we will deeply explore how these blocked energy patterns, samskaras, also block your natural energy flow. When you commit to spiritual growth, you work on letting go of the stored blockages from the past and not storing any more from the present. This does not mean the mind's normal memory storage process does not take place. You're not willfully forgetting life experiences. You're simply not resisting or clinging to the experiences and thus not storing them as samskaras. They remain harmless, objective memories. Do you want to stop there or should I keep going?
Yeah, well, we can stop for a minute. He's going to do some kind of example here of how that works, but I can see it very clearly in my own life that what I resist persists, and when he's not talking about the memories, he's talking about the stories about the memories, the stories about what did that do to me? How did that make me feel? How did I, what occurred because of it? Those things, the consequences of the story, what happened in the story, which it's completely unnecessary to um to do that. But it sets you up to where, when you see that person again, or you think about that thought again, or you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and your mind is like, oh, remember when that happened to me, and you go through the whole emotional roller coaster that you went through when it occurred in the first place. It colors your life. And next time you see a person with, that colored hair, or next time you see a person that has a mannerism that's similar, or, whatever, your mind goes right back to that story. And so it's not about forgetting the memories, it's about forgetting the stories that we made up about the memory. So yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. I just didn't recognize how much baggage I had from the first 7 or 10 years. And I wanted to focus on the first 7 or 10 years of childhood. And I wanted to focus on what happened in my 20s. And I wanted to focus what happened, and it was always what they did to me. And I was the one recreating the exact same scenarios that I could prove that no one loved me or whatever. Like, I couldn't see it when I was in it. And I would try, like everyone was like, I would try the spiritual platitudes. And of course, I was a self-help junkie. Oh my goodness, did I read all the self-help books out there? And I was really into diagnosing, but I wouldn't look at the self. I would always project it out. And, thank God for the course. Thank God for the reversal in thinking. Thank God for a new perception. The lessons started to reverse the way I looked at the world. And it isn't easy when the only one to blame for our lives is ourselves. It's not easy at all. But the glory of accepting that truth means I can stop. I can stop recreating those painful scenarios and turn to the one who knows. And the one who knows what I need to make me happy, not me. Which is the way I think of Jesus, or the way I think of God, or the way I think of the Holy Spirit. I don't know. This ego does not know, and it will never know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for that, Deb. Yeah. And, that recognition, which remember when we had Sandy Levy here and that we talked about where did these things come from? The stuff that happens to us in our early childhood that forms who we think we are, the idea of who we think we are and what we think we relate to the world. That really, unless you look at it, you're stuck thinking like a 2-year-old, seriously about, what's going on, not understanding and uh, not, not getting the lesson. Carolina, yes, please, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for bringing this book to reality in this space. I am grateful for the ideas that are being shared, given that I've done personal work in looking into myself and looking into the past experiences and processing and recognizing what needed to be done for me to not identify myself with those experiences and actually healing and letting that go. Therefore, I'm more present with myself and others in my relationships without being attached to almost anything. Almost anything. And it is day-to-day work to achieve that state.
Thank you, Carolina. Yes. Yeah, and just exactly what you said, it's not personal. It is, it's not happening to a person. We are, you know, and I'm glad to hear that you've been doing this work because unless we do this work, we'll never experience ourselves, the truth of what we are. We'll always think we're that person. So thank you, Carolina, for that.
Just one more thing to add,
Yes.
Lynn. It's personal in the way that I take responsibility for myself and I choose how I participate with myself and others in the world and in the day to day. Therefore, like you were saying, I'm not that 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 20-year-old person or human living in that body experience. I am who I am right now, here in this moment, taking accountability and responsibility for myself and my choices, if that makes sense to you. I hope it does.
It does make sense to me. And I'm just going to ask one question. Have you ever been anywhere else or anyone else? If you look at your life, have you always been this person? And no matter what happened to you, you still are the same.
Well, there are so many practices that touch into that concept. Who am I? Where I am now, here, and am I anything else other than love and peace?
Yes. And are you and could you ever be anything other than love and peace? It is the truth of what you are. All right.
Absolutely. I'm going to say just absolutely. That's what I am. And so are you. And so are you.
Yes. Absolutely. You could never have been any different. I love this so much. Okay, Debbie, you want to keep reading, or Sharon, anybody else want to read?
Is Sharon still here? Is she available? Can you read,
I can
Sharon?
read. Yeah, I would love to read. Yeah, I was just putting things away. Okay. Where are we? You are not simply.
Let's take an
Let's
example.
take an example very close to home for some people. You have an ex-husband. I don't want to see him. I don't want to talk about him ever again. I don't even like it when someone says his name. It makes me uncomfortable, even years after the divorce. This is not an objective memory talking. It is definitely a samskara. You say you divorced your husband, but you didn't. He's still inside bothering you. I can relate. I had that for a long time. You don't even want to go to a party if you think he might be there. You have kept these impressions blocked in your mind, and ultimately, you have created an alternative universe in which you are still dealing with your ex. Normal memory is not like this. It is well behaved. Like a computer memory, it does not pop up by itself. It does not have blocked energies that need to be released. Normal memory is there where you need it. It does not haunt you throughout your life. Fortunately, most things you encounter in life are neutral to you. They pass through unblocked and are available for recall when appropriate. You have driven by white lines on the road many times, but they don't come back up by themselves at an inopportune time. Neither do the cars, trees, buildings, and myriad other objects you encounter each day. They come in and they pass through, but there are a few things that are harder to deal with inside, and therefore you resist them or you cling to them. This is how you fell out of the garden of reality. Impressions stayed inside your mind and became the foundation blocks upon which you build your psyche. And that's all we're ever doing. This is all between me and me, really, because my memories of my husband is about me. It's about what I wanted to do to myself, you know. Um, and every bit of taking responsibility is taking 100% responsibility for it. So, and that is really the ticket home, you know. Anyway, go ahead. You can go to the next page, Lynn. The veil of the psyche. Your psyche is like a computer. Yeah, it's data program running in your mind based on your samskaras. I never understood the samskaras until you said it, Lynn. It's just the ego thought system, right? That's what it is. It is in there talking to you about things that happened before, what you wish would happen now, and what you hope does or doesn't happen tomorrow. This is what we do all day long. That's it. We all have problems with people because that's why we're here. We want to unload it because there were never people, it was always us. You've actually created an alternate reality inside your mind that is very complex. It's a tremendous menagerie of stored moments you were not able to let go of. At this point, you don't even need another rattlesnake to get you disturbed. The fact that the experience of the snake is stuck in your mind means other things will remind you of it. In fact, you can remind yourself of it without the need of an external reminder. You're driving down the street, minding your own business. Suddenly, you remember how scary that snake was, and you get scared again. We're not dealing with the reality anymore. We have such a mess built up in there that it's no wonder we have so much trouble with life. Such is the nature of the personal mind. Regardless of how messy it gets in there, the fact remains that the personal mind is not you, no more than your TV screen is you. But it's much more difficult to objectively watch your mind than your TV screen. This is because of the power of the impressions you have stored in your mind. These past impressions compete with the image of reality coming in from the outside and make it hard to tell which is which. It is difficult to maintain a seat of objective observation when it gets so confusing in there. Some scars are not to be taken lightly, they seriously distort your experiences of life. Does anybody want to share? Okay, nobody wants to share. Let's take the example of psychological Rorschach test, often referred to as an ink blot test. The psychologist holds up an ink blot and asks what you see. You immediately respond that you see people making love or perhaps mommy and daddy fighting. In other words, the Rorschach test stimulates the patterns you stored inside your mind, causing you to see what's not actually there. The truth is, the whole world is a giant Rorschach test. Look at that. The world is a flow of atoms unfolding in front of you. It's no more personal than the ink blots and the ink blots, but it's hitting your scars, and that stimulates stored mental and emotional reactions. Now, instead of experience what is passing by its outside, you are experiencing the likes, dislikes, beliefs, and judgments stored inside. These impressions are so strong that you actually think they are what is really out there, just like the ink blot. The personal mind has taken over your entire life. You are no longer free to enjoy the experiences that are actually happening. You are forced to deal with what your mind says is happening. Let's look a little deeper into how some scars affect your life. We have discussed that what is coming in from the outside stimulates your mental blockages from the past. Past experiences were uncomfortable when you first resisted them, and they are going to be uncomfortable when they come back. To make matters worse, just as with the Rasa test, you are not seeing what is actually outside. You are seeing your inner issues projected onto the outside. And that's what we're doing all day long when we think that, because what's outside is really, it's never about that. Never. That's why life seems so scary and why it seems so always be hitting your weak spots. The truth is, life is not hitting your weak spots. You are projecting your weak spots onto life. And this is the beauty of the Course in Miracles, because taking responsibility as the projector shows us basically that we're doing it. And it might be in our consciousness, but we don't see that we're doing that. And then we completely have to look at that and forgive it because it didn't happen. It's just all about our sin, guilt, and fear. You held on to some positive things from the past. The problem is they're not happening anymore. And that is disappointing. If you go back to the same place where you saw the butterfly and it's not there, it becomes a negative experience. Understand you have made life a lose situation. If anything reminds you of what bothered you before, you lose. If you are not getting to re-experience what you liked before, you lose. This is in drastic contrast to what the Zen calls beginner's mind. If you are not expecting anything in particular from a situation, and then something special happens, it can touch you really deeply. It could be a beautiful sunset, the first unexpected kiss, or some other welcome surprise. On a beautiful day, like we are projecting that, really looking at like how beautiful the colors are and all of this, but we're projecting it, but it's not what we think it is. It's not really none of it is what we think it is. So it could be beautiful sunset, the first unexpected kiss, or some other welcome surprise. If it touches you too deeply because you have no samskaras in your mind about the event, you have beginner's mind. Otherwise, you will be expecting something based on prior experiences. And that will interfere with the spontaneity of the event. Okay.
I just want to say too that it might not even actually be your experience. It might be you watched a movie and you saw things happening in a
Yeah.
movie. How many of us watched Snow White or Cinderella when we were little kids? And, we got this idea that, true love would come and save you from your bad situation. And there would be a handsome prince who would rescue you and take you, you would
Right.
have
Yeah.
this first kiss that would be so wonderful. And, all these ideas that come into our mind that become our expectations about what the future, what should be happening. And then when it really happens, you meet somebody and you fall in love. Oh, but what happened to my Prince Charming? What happened to my
Right.
beautiful innocent princess singing to the birds and the animals? Where are they? Because this artificial thing that wasn't even your own life experience, but was a life experience that you experienced by seeing it on the screen or in another person's life, that becomes your expectation. And then when you do fall in love, you don't even, it is what, this is not what I expected. And so you don't experience it, the love as it really is. You experience it as you expect it to be. And I mean, not just that, it's every situation that we're in the world. We have expectations about because of past uh, memories or ideas. And, if you go like what Jesus tells us in the Course of Miracles, I do not know what anything is for, including this. I do not know what this is. I don't know the thing I am. I don't know that I don't know mine. That becomes clear when we let go of these stories of the past, recognize that they're not personal, have nothing to do with us. When we can do that, then we can actually experience the world as it is. And when you actually experience the world as it is, you will see that it's only love. Love is all that is really happening here. Love, or a call for love.
Right. That's it. Yeah. It's interesting how, unconscious we are as humans. We have no clue what's really going on here. None. The end result is that these samsaras have ruined your life. You made it so that unless something drastically different happens to pull you out of this preference system, you can't fully, you can't feel anything fully. That's why some people must go to extremes to get a rush. It is also why some people try to keep everything exactly the same so that life doesn't disturb their samskaras. In either case, trying to keep the mind a decent place to live in can force people to look for escapes such as drinking and drugs. You get to the point where you're running around trying to appease your mind. Yeah, that's what we do. It's all just, and how do we even get to this process? We don't even know that. Everything here is a mystery. That's what we really have to come to the place where we don't know a thing. Anyway, you want to pass the next page?
Yeah, I did already.
Oh, eventually you will come to realize now that it's not your job, the spouse, or the car that gets old. It's listening to the mess in your mind that gets old. Well, all these patterns from past are blocked in your mind. You in there can neither experience the miracle of life unfolding before you, nor can you experience the natural beauty within you. Your awareness is completely distracted by these stored mental patterns, and you must devote your days and nights to serving them. You can no longer experience reality. You are stuck experiencing yourself. There's a concept in Zen known as just tree. It fits perfectly with our discussion. The story goes as follows. There was a young Buddhist monk in a monastery who would go for daily sessions with its Zen master. The master would ask him some questions and the monk would leave. One time, when the young monk walked in, the master looked at him and remarked, "What happened to you? You look so alive and filled with light." The monk was surprised. "What do you mean? I see a difference in you, my son. What happened?" The monk told him, "I was walking across the courtyard and I saw the big oak tree. I stopped and looked at it. I had seen it many times before, but this time I saw just tree. I just saw the tree. Somehow it took me to such a deep place that I felt an awakening. I felt a moment of enlightenment. It took me beyond myself. The tree has been there for 100 years," the master reflected. "You have walked by that tree every single day since you've been here." "Yes," the student said. "But when I previously walked by the tree, it often reminded me of the tree Buddha sat under when he reached enlightenment. Other times, the tree reminds me of the one I fell out of when I was little." The tree always stimulated thought patterns from my past. This time I saw just tree. The master smiled. Right, without any thought, what are you seeing? You're seeing clearly. And that goes with the song, "On a clear day, rise
Exactly.
and look around you."
I love it when you sing, Sharon. You know, this is, we just had a lesson that is all about that. I see nothing as it is.
Right.
I
I
see
see
only
that.
the
Yeah.
past. Yeah,
Or just like, I'm determined to see. That's another thing. Like that's a great directive. When we that determined to see is not talking about the eyes, it's talking about vision. It's the beginning of looking at the fact that the spirit is the one that's seeing all of this, that there is no person, that spirit has fallen asleep believing it's this character. And maybe liking it a little too much too. I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know. But it's like, you know, when we see clearly, we are in the right mind and we are home. We are home, but as the body mind, we're not even that. That body mind is just, I guess it's just an object. That's all. An object in our awareness. Just tree is what we talked about in the beginning of our discussion of mind. The tree comes in, renders in your mind, and that's all you see. In contrast, the tree comes in, renders in your mind, and stimulates any past and scars you have about trees. You're some Oh, this fell down because I'm on my phone, so I got to bring this up. Okay. Your samsara's mind becomes activated and your consciousness is scattered between the primary image of the tree and the secondary explosion that takes place inside. The secondary explosion is the reaction within your mind due to the stored patterns there. You can have pure experiences anywhere. The young monk did. He saw just tree. If you didn't understand this before, hopefully you do now. A Zen master would be pleased when you, because just tree is a very deep concept in Zen Buddhism. Isn't that interesting? There is nothing wrong with the mind itself, just like there is nothing wrong with a computer per se. It is how you use these powerful gifts that can cause a problem. There's almost no limit to the brilliance of mind. People think Einstein was smart, but they don't understand their own brilliance. We all have the human mind, every single one of us. We don't have a possum mind, a squirrel mind, or even an ape mind. We have the human mind, and the human mind is brilliant. And it really is. It's brilliant, and it's also a miracle that it could do this. You know, the brilliant human mind. I said that before, yeah, because it is. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's everything here is a miracle. Everything. Are we stopping, Lynn?
Well, it's getting toward the end. I don't want to start another another chapter. And
Okay.
I think it would be good just to have a little chat about what we just read.
I think
Um,
that's a wonderful idea.
yeah. So yeah, the what
A
I
clear vision.
you know, I have a vision of everything I think I'm seeing here. And, nothing I'm seeing here actually has any meaning. I'm the one who gives all the meaning to it. It's
Right.
so clear that that's what the situation is. Um, and, Jesus is very clear about that in the Course in Miracles. Why is that important? Because unless I question why I'm seeing things this way, I'm going to continue to see things this way, and the world will always be my enemy. It'll always be against me. But and the very helpful idea of A Course in Miracles is that the world I see is a projection of my own thinking. And that is really saying there is a world, and the world that God made is a perfect world where there is nothing wrong and nothing can go wrong. There is a mind of the human that has all of these stories that it made up about who, what, when, where, and how. Those are the samskaras that project onto everything. So instead of seeing the tree, we see the tree that we fell out of when we were a kid. Instead of seeing the forest for the trees, we're putting our own meanings onto everything. And those meanings are what form our thought and opinion about the world. And so, it's so easy to say, we live in a bad world. We live in a sad world. We live in a world where bad things happen to good people. Uh, you know, those are those samskaras. Those are the stories in my mind about what is. If you're walking by a mountain and an avalanche comes down and hits you and buries you in the snow, where's the fault in that? It's an
Right.
avalanche. Avalanches happen because of the way snow builds up on mountains. If I happen to be there at the time when the thing falls down, is it because the world hates me and wants me to die? Or is it because that's just where I happen to be when that thing occurs? And what I think Michael Singer is just expressing to us is just be where you are.
Right.
And
Just,
being where you are
mm-hmm.
is the perfect place, always. Anybody have any thoughts? And welcome, Mickey.
I just think the both books just complement the course. They complement the teaching.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Well, you know, we wouldn't have known that. But see, the Course in Miracles deals with things in a way that no other, I mean, like it just says things that are a little bit more radical. But it's the best text, the best. So now we're going to do that. We're going to do chapter what, 15 or 16?
We're in 16 now.
Okay.
And
I'm going to let somebody else read for this, so I'm going to listen.
okay, and I'm hoping that Mickey, let's see. All right, what
Mickey's here. Mickey's here.